place where it's not the donut or it's not the soft drink.
Thank you. Welcome back. Once again, my name is Sue Ann Penna. I'm your host here today on Common Sense, and we are joined by former Assemblywoman Marion Crecco and our guest host, Eddie Malavarca. So, Assemblywoman, let's tell a funny story about how we actually know. We didn't really know each other all those years back, but when I worked for the Democratic state assemblyman that Marion beat in '85,
Yes.
right? And that's when
Which one?
Steve Adubato
Oh,
Jr.
Steve, yeah.
Yes. So I
Yeah.
worked for Steve for a few years as a legislative assistant, and and look where we are today. We're on the
Yes,
same
yes.
side of the aisle now, which you grow. But you know what? The
Well,
Democratic Party
That's
wasn't what it
is.
was.
No, not at all.
It
That's
wasn't
what
what
it
it
is. It's growth. I never forget one time I was living in this apartment. We were newly married, and went down to the laundry room, and there
Uh-huh.
was something, for some reason or other, politics came up, and she was a Democrat,
Uh-huh.
and I had just become a Republican. And she said to me, "But why would you do that?" And I said, "Well, it's just a matter of growing up. I just
Exactly.
learned more, I became wiser, and I realized that this is, this philosophy, the Republican philosophy, is what I believe
It fits
in.
you.
Except that today, especially in New Jersey, I don't know that it's as
What that Republican, what
yeah,
that philosophy or
yeah.
conservative
There's a
philosophy.
lot of, there are not that many conservatives in the office today. There are some, but they're
But-
not as many.
Let's talk about how the word has changed really to a negative. It's the opposing side has really taken that word. If you say that you're a conservative, it means you don't like people. You're against so many things. They've really demonized that word.
Well, they
and we have to take a stronger stand in supporting
You're right.
it.
They have done that. The connotation is that, you're right. That if you're, there goes that word, right, if you're to the right.
Mm-hmm.
I recall when I was in the assembly, and there was something about me in the press, in parenthetical, after my name, they would always put conservative or right wing or something like that.
yes.
And I'd say, in my heart, I knew that I was more liberal than those people who have the name liberal, because I did cared about the constituents and about our country. I wasn't trying to destroy it.
Right.
So
We're
they
in support
put
of it.
that, that
Right.
label
If
on
it's
me,
something that an R does, then the
be-
label's always there.
because they didn't agree with my legislation. And my legislation mostly had to do with family, children, not just women, although I was vice chairman on Women and Children's Commission, but it had to do with people.
Right.
I never looked at gender or color or anything. It was the person. And this is
Right.
what we are supposed to do as legislators. We're not supposed to serve ourselves. We're supposed to serve the constituency.
Exactly.
But this isn't how it works most of the time. So that happened to be what my legislation is. It took me 14 years to get the bill through for education, abstinence education within the sex education curriculum.
Oh, to be able to actually
And
tell
it was very
kids that was
just
an
a
option.
basic sentence, just to let the children know that there's only one way that you will not contract the AIDS virus nor become pregnant, is through abstaining from sex.
It took you
Right.
14 years for them to put that
14
in.
years.
Because that's so
they
offensive.
fought
Because
that.
that would be common sense.
Of course.
No, nothing has to do with common sense.
Because,
And the progressives have even hijacked the word liberal. I mean, liberal comes from liberty.
of course.
And that went free of government interference. And I don't understand why people are so happy to have the government interfere. So the government holds this little carrot and dangles it in front of you and says, we're going to give you free health care. We're going to give you free housing. And when you accept it, you are now owned.
Well, it's
You're
the
owned.
nature. It's the nature of the human being.
And they've
If
tapped
you-
into
yeah,
that
and
so
they
well.
have done that. And what is it? 50% of the population doesn't pay taxes
Right.
because
Federal
they've been
taxes.
given federal tax. They've been given so much by the government,
Right.
and the politicians do this because they want to be elected
Well, they do two
and
things,
reelected.
right? They offer up, I'm not going to call them goodies because some people are hurting, but they offer up goodies. And
I'm going to say it anyway.
I'll say it anyway. They offer up goodies, but they also make it on the other end harder to actually, they're making the tax burden so great upon your life that to just get normal things done is taking more and more of your day to work for those things.
Exactly.
They've taxed people out of the family, correct? Now
Yes.
you need two people to work all the time rather than
That's right.
the way
Can't
it
have
used to be.
mom staying
Absolutely.
home
So
and
while
raising the
increasing the
family.
burden, they've handed out the goodies. They've got you. They put you in a bind. So people realize, well, people who don't know any better, who might not have, grown up in the previous generation, who've only grown up knowing this, think that this is normal. How else do people get things done? To them, their knowledge only goes to the last generation where it's increased.
Yeah, I think it's the way, I think it's the way that we're growing up in many instances. We did have 6 generations of welfare recipients, but it's our fault. It's the politicians' fault, the legislators' fault, because we've done nothing about it. We've allowed that to happen because you have a great voting bloc there. And for the most part, politicians are selfish.
And they will-
want to be elected, they want that power, and they don't care what the
And
means
it's
are
at the expense of people. I mean,
of our country.
it's our country
Yeah.
and a group of people who are stuck in that system, who want to get out and want to have a job. But as soon as they make an income, there's no scale saying to reward them, that's great that you have a job. We're going to help get you off of welfare so that you can become the person that you are supposed to be. You can't become that person when you're told that this is what you get for a month and you can't get out of there. And the politicians dump people into these situations and into these housing projects, and they leave them there. And you think of the talent, and the people that have gone to waste. It's a waste of human life.
Right. We all have the ability to become whatever it
Something.
is we want. We're not born equal. Some are very smart, some are normal, average, some whatever.
We all have a
But we
gift.
are there, and we can improve ourselves if we're allowed to. But if you have a child going to school and the teacher's not teaching and the parent isn't there, this isn't the child's fault. But we're missing a lot of geniuses also.
Absolutely.
Because they have so much to contribute. And, when I was running for office, I would go into a lot of churches
Right.
because we sort of were compatible insofar as
Absolutely.
our philosophy was concerned. But many of these churches were mostly people who would vote that line A all the way Democrat. And I would say to them, but they didn't really realize that
Exactly.
they were voting against
Themselves.
themselves.
Absolutely.
And they were so important. They're important to our country. They're important to God. They have these talents, and we're just leaving them there to waste.
To waste. It is a waste of. It is a waste
So
of life. It's a
I
waste
think they're
of
becoming more aware.
opportunity. I hope so.
I think that it's up to all of us to speak up and speak out, whether we agree with them or not. Very often, I would go into places where they were extremely hostile, and
Right.
I would just go in there and tell them the truth. Now it's up to them whether they want to hear the truth.
And I think that when you take the party line politics out of it and really
course.
discuss the issues and you present it to people, not like the Democrats do this, the Republicans do this, but when you say, are you aware of the fact
You're
that if
right,
you do
you're
not buy health care, that you can go to jail if you cannot afford to pay the fine? There's so much being withheld from people. And we have a
They
big
don't
election
know.
coming up, and it's
Yes.
important to educate and inform people, and for people to come out of their bubble and to be open to other ideas, because you're right. Voting that way, if you're in the welfare state and you continue to vote that way, you are voting against yourself. Absolutely.
You're right. They're not aware of it. But let's remember, what are they learning in school? They're not learning true American history.
No.
They're not learning about the government. They don't even know about the Constitution. all we have is a revisionist history.
Right, and we can't defend, and they're not gonna be able to defend what they never knew existed.
No.
How can you defend the Constitution if you don't know what the Constitution is?
But the curriculum, there's no curriculum, there's not a good academic curriculum in our public school system. They waste so much money, such as this English as a second language.
Right,
Do you know we spent billions on that?
of course.
I've had parents come up to me, Hispanic parents, who said, my children speak English very well. Why are they in this class? Because the question is, what do they speak at home when you enroll in school? If you
Right.
say another language, they put you in English as a second language.
Right,
And I had one constituent who finally moved, take her child out of that school, and when they enrolled in the new school, they asked her what they spoke at home,
Uh-huh.
and she said English, and that was it.
and now she's probably
But
flourishing.
That was, she's doing very well. You know what, years ago, the immigrants came to this country, they couldn't speak English. If they came, they went to night school or whatever, but they learned. They carried
Right.
dictionaries around with them. They didn't need that English as a second language. However, the bottom line is money. We're spending billions on that.
And
Someone's getting paid,
Somebody's getting rich.
and they may not even be getting rich, but why?
Somebody has
This
a
is
job.
part of the bureaucracy. So when you give these people jobs, you get more votes.
Right,
I never did that. I never catered to any lobbyists. If I
Right.
believed it was right, I voted for it. If I didn't think it's right, I didn't, such as the New Jersey, the union,
Oh.
New Jersey Education Union
right,
and JEA. They supported me after my first term because I had legislation in to give teachers, starting teachers, a lot higher rate,
sure,
starting rate. They were paid very low rate as a beginning teaching.
right,
And so they were very happy about that. And they supported me the second time. And then the third time I ran, I had that abstinence bill in there, and
right, and then you're done.
they spent millions of dollars for 15 years to get me out of office.
Wow.
Now, isn't that funny? They
Because
need more
did-
money for education, but yet to go against someone and attack someone, they find millions and millions of dollars. I mean, they've done it to Governor Christie. How much money have they spent to
Yes.
to get rid of him?
They're the most powerful union, I think, in the country. And I have to tell you the truth. I've been in restaurants during that time.
Uh-huh.
I had a lot of education legislation in. And teachers would come up to me in restaurants and say, Assemblywoman, you were so right. I agree with you. We can't say anything, because Big
That's-
Brother is watching, but you are so right. So it's not the teachers.
No, that's the
It's the leaders.
misconception. We're not against the teachers. We're
Not at
we're
all.
supportive of our teachers, but it's the teachers union that takes in all the money, forces the teachers to pay dues, and then takes that money in turn, puts it to where they want without consideration of the teachers. So that is the
Absolutely,
problem.
Absolutely.
But we are coming up on a break, and we will be right back. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
I am always hoarse.
Hmm?
I think horse,
Oh,
but it's,
can you hear everything? Are we good on all the mics? Okay.
oh, good. I have this hoarseness, and we don't know exactly what's causing it, but
Maybe allergies.
I do have a lot of allergies, and then I have this
That's what it
nasal
is.
drip,
It's
yeah.
the
So the nasal
sinuses.
drip comes
Mhm.
out, and it's fine.
We had you on the pod, and everybody's been
Oh.
on the phones too.
Really? Awesome. That's great.
So, go for it. Share it to Facebook.
Thank you for listening to Common Sense, a production of Citizens for Limited Government, a nonprofit 501c3 educational organization